And
Okay. Let me call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Are there any public comments? Okay. Then I guess we'll commence with the public hearing.
we will.
All right. Howdy.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey, thanks.
So this is public hearing 19-110, HR 19-00004. Historic review for new construction in Kenema National District at 306 4th Avenue. I really got to bring my glasses.
You want me to do it?
I can read.
Okay.
I can see it far away.
Okay. I'll just follow along and correct you when you make a reading mistake.
Yes, okay. I got two of them, one in case I lose one. All right. There we go. There's one public hearing on land use applications that are scheduled tonight. Our role is to conduct the public hearing and to make decisions about the matters before us. In making those decisions, we must apply the applicable codes and laws and cannot vary from or change those laws or codes. Members of the Planning Commission are to be unbiased. Am I reading the right one? I think I am.
That's the one that was in our
Okay.
folder.
It's all new.
Is it different?
It's a little
Maybe
different.
It's an older version.
Okay.
Is that okay, Carrie?
So just keep going and
Yeah.
I'll stop you when it's not okay.
All right, I'll stop myself earlier. Members of the Planning Commission are to be unbiased. Before the start of the hearing, I will ask the commissioners whether they have any potential conflicts, such as family, financial, or business relationships with any of the applicants or with regard to the land in question. I will also ask whether any of the commissioners have discussed the application in question with any of the parties or have independent knowledge of relevant facts, such as from a visit to the site in question. Any member of the audience may question any commissioner about their disclosures. A staff report has been prepared for each application, has been made available to the public 7 days before the first public hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to each applicant's proposal. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. Quasi-judicial hearing procedure that the commission will follow is set out in state law and the Oregon City Municipal Code. The hearing procedure steps are shown on the chart over there. Anyone wishing to speak should fill out a speaker's card and give it to the planning staff before the hearing. Speakers will proceed in the order in which the card is received. You should fill out your address on the card so that the city will notify you of its final decision. For the public record, please begin all testimony stating your name and the city of residence. Testimony and evidence should be directed toward the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they apply to the application under consideration. Any person may submit written material while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by the city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the public hearing must be presented to the city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, oversized poster boards, reports, pictures, or other exhibits used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to the city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to the staff, they will not be included in the record. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence must make that request before the public testimony portion of the hearing is closed. If the Planning Commission makes a decision with which you disagree, any issue that you may wish to appeal must have been raised on the record for the consideration of the City Commission or LUBA or both. Without raising the issue on the record with sufficient detail and accompanied by statements or evidence that the city and all parties can respond to the issue will not be deemed appealable to the City Commission or State Land Use Board of Appeals. In addition, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. For each public hearing, there'll be staff report, public testimony, 15 minutes for the applicant, 5 minutes for representatives of a recognized neighborhood association, government agency, or other incorporated public interest organization, 3 minutes for individuals, 5 minutes for applicant's rebuttal. So we'll now open the record for Oregon City File Historic Review -19-00004. Okay. Does any commissioner have any ex parte contacts? No, no? Go ahead.
In the course of Kenema Neighborhood Association meetings, the applicant brought us a presentation at our June meeting, which I chaired. I did not have any involvement in the discussion, and when it came time for a vote on the application, I recused myself from that portion of the meeting, and our secretary conducted that part of the meeting. So the answer is no, but that's my lengthy explanation.
Okay. Are there conflicts of interest, bias, or any other statement to declare?
No.
No?
Nope.
No? Okay. Has any commissioner visited the site?
I have.
I have.
Yes.
You
Okay.
live there.
For the record, all commissioners have visited the site that are present. Does anyone in the audience wish to question any of the commissioners about these disclosures? Okay, we'll start with the planning report.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have an application for a new single-family home in the Kenema National Register District. The site is a 10,000 square foot lot, so it's made up of two of the 50 by 100 lots of record. It's located on 4th Avenue near the corner of Ganong Street. Unimproved portion of Ganong Street is adjacent to the property as well. The site is within our geologic hazard overlay district and our Willamette River Greenway overlay, which most of the Kenema neighborhood is in that district as well. You can see the steep topography there that rises from 4th Avenue. The Natural Resource Overlay District is nearby as well, and a portion of the property was shown in the Natural Resource Overlay, and a couple of years ago, a separate applicant, former property owner, applied for a verification that the property is not, in fact, in the Natural Resource Overlay, and that was approved. So even though the map does show the border there, it's been essentially removed from that overlay district. 2 years ago, a vernacular home was proposed on this property by a former owner, and it was approved by the board. So that was discussed a little bit in the staff report. So the plan was, the proposal in 2017 was a little bit different. It was a vernacular style. And so I'll discuss kind of the relevance of that later. 4th Avenue, the right-of-way, as you can see, is a lot, the pavement is a lot skinnier, narrower than the actual right-of-way. So a lot of the right-of-way is actually the hillside above a rockery wall right here. So all of this, about 20 feet of that is technically in the 4th Avenue right-of-way. And then here's the corner where 4th Avenue turns into Ganong. There is a driveway that is gravel that does go up further into the property within the Ganong Street right-of-way. So that driveway is existing, and we believe that there was previously a building at some point on this property. We don't really have much evidence of it, but we think that driveway led to a small home, potentially. So neighboring houses include some historic structures and some more modern structures. So across the street on 4th, we've got a historic vernacular. Up the hill on 5th, another vernacular, both contributing. And then below this, I believe is 408 4th Avenue, so it's about a block away, a bungalow that is contributing, and then nearby on Ganong Street is a more modern, more recently built structure. It was built under the previous design guidelines. May have actually been built before we had design guidelines, but regardless, it's not contributing. So the applicant has proposed a home with an attached garage that's on the ground floor level, so it's kind of a basement level garage. The previous approval in 2017 was a similar plan. So the garage was tucked under the house and it was attached as well, and that was approved. And I've included the findings that the board made in 2017 to support that. I think that the situation, the circumstances are similar in this case, you know, same site, approximately the same house placement. And so I think that the board could, you know, take a lot from the previous findings that you made. So the applicant proposed a bungalow-style home facing 4th Avenue with the garage on the side connected to that existing driveway on the lower ground level. So it's 1.5 story bungalow with a front gable dormer and a full width front porch. A quite nice rendering there. We can revisit the floor plans if needed throughout your discussion. But you can see the ground level includes the garage along with some living space. And then the upper story, you know, smaller than the first story footprint, and that gable dormer, or that dormer allows for the master bedroom in the front. So we've got really a kind of a classic bungalow design here. And we can revisit these as we discuss. There's the rear elevation. So getting into some of the design guidelines. As I said, the guideline for accessory structures is that they are detached, subservient to the primary building, and located at less visible areas of the site, such as the side or behind the primary building. So this garage is on the side. And the findings that the board made previously when a design like this was approved were that the site has a steep grade and attaching the garage in this way allows for disturbance of less site area to maintain the geologic integrity of the site. That the garage is located underneath the main level of the home, does not increase the envelope of the home beyond that of a single-family home. That the home is set back more than 20 feet from the 4th Avenue right-of-way, which reduces the visibility of the home and the garage, and that the proposed garage is side-loading and located underneath the main level of the home. The only way to see the garage doors would be from Ganong Street right-of-way and the proposed driveway for the home. So I think all of those factors that the board found last time are still valid for this proposal. That being said, the bar is high for allowing attached garages. And so the board has only done so in circumstances where there are overlay districts and other site constraints. So I think the important thing here for staff and for the board, I think, is to make findings so that we're not, you know, setting a precedent that then leads to a lot more proposals for attached garages in Kenema when there are true alternatives that don't, you know, that are available on those future projects. Okay, a couple other design guidelines I want to talk about. Bungalow roof pitch, the design guidelines say 612 maximum. So we've got a 712 for the main roof here, and then a 312 for the shed dormer in the back, and a 412 along the front porch. So I just want to point it out. I think that this bungalow design is traditional, and I think I don't see anything starkingly wrong with the roof pitch, but I do want to point it out because it is a little bit outside of the guidelines. Similarly, the front dormer roof pitch is 812. And the guideline for dormers on bungalows says single front facing with lower slope gable or shed roofs. So 812, you could argue, is not really a lower slope. So, I think it's important for the board to consider that. But again, I think overall the design seems to be a very classic bungalow style, and nothing about it really screams that it's inappropriate to me. Okay, and then for front, design guidelines for front stairs. Exterior stairways exceeding 5 feet in height at the front of buildings is not allowed. So that's one of those items in the design guidelines that is specifically called out as not allowed. So I've recommended a condition of approval for this one. We don't really have a grading plan that was submitted with this application. So I think the final, grading is probably a little bit unknown at this point. But the condition of approval is that the applicant shall modify the grading plan or house design such that the stairs facing 4th Avenue do not exceed 5 feet in height, and the applicant shall not increase the number of the stairs beyond what is shown in the plans. So I think there are about 9 steps shown, of like 4 and then 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 6. 35 to 40 inches. You say 5 feet in height?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's about what, 6 steps maybe?
A step's about 7.5 inches on average.
Okay.
So if there's 6 steps
Yeah.
on the front, there's still room for more stairs. You're saying 5 feet in height.
There are 9, I think.
I'm just
here.
talking the front
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
They could actually.
So I mean, I think the guideline is slightly unclear as to whether the jog and the landing here, like if those side steps would count. If they were all kind of front facing steps, I think that's clearly, can't be 5 feet, but I think I would kind of ask the board for some guidance on whether this height right here of those first 3 stairs would count against that 5 feet.
Technically, when you have a landing, your risers can be different when there's a landing separating them by code. So if that was the case, there's just about it. I'm sure with grading, they could probably make it work. Because you're right, it's unknown. Yeah. Okay.
So there are 2 retaining walls proposed on site. So the retaining wall on 4th Avenue, the historic rockery wall, it's a significant element of Kenema that is mentioned and described in the Kenema National Register nomination. So it's important to kind of protect that and not disturb that wall. And the applicant has proposed a setback of more than 35 feet from that wall. And so, I think that'll, that wall will be protected. The 2 retaining walls on site, the height has not been indicated on the plans. And so based on our last project, I'm recommending a condition of approval to limit the height of those walls to 5 feet. And then require that the material be poured concrete, rockery, or a basalt veneer. So tree removal, there are quite a few trees on the property. Several of them, actually 9 to 11, it's not clear. Some of them are not labeled, or they're labeled as remaining when they look like they'll probably be in conflict with construction. And so it seems like a range of 9 to 11 trees would be removed. And then about 6 to 8 trees would remain on property, with these trees in the right-of-way area. They're all maples to remain. And based on the amount of tree removal and the guideline that talks about preserving tree canopy, I recommend 4 replacement trees at 1.5 inch caliper each. And so those can be planted like in the side or rear yard, or the front yard for that matter. Okay, massing. We heard a comment at the last hearing. This was a continuance, and we did have a public comment that brought up the size and bulk of the structure, that saying that bungalows in Kenema historically were not nearly this large. That this was, I believe the comment was that this is double the size of historic Kenema bungalows. So we looked at the massing compared to other historic bungalows in Kenema. So the height of the structure from the first floor is 25.5 feet, with the basement is 32 feet. The width of the house on the front is 31 feet, and on the back it's wider, and so it goes to 39. The depth is 46. So the total square footage, 2,692 plus the 567 square foot basement. So I think it is on the larger side of homes in Kenema, although when you consider the other new construction that has occurred over the past 10 to 15 years, I think it's still in that ballpark of what's been approved. And I think there are a handful of historic homes that do have, almost that volume, that size. As far as the width and the depth go, and it is a 1.5 story home. The maximum that's allowed per the guidelines is 1.5 stories plus a basement. So that guideline has been met. So I pulled, I think all of the historic bungalows that I could find in the district. So some of these are up the hill from 99, and some of them are between 99 and the river. But they're all listed as bungalows. And so I very roughly, using our GIS maps, measured their widths and depths and the footprint, and compared that to the proposed home. So the proposed home width is, within the average for all these homes. Depth is greater than the average, but still, there are a couple of homes that are similar or even deeper than this one. And then the footprint is larger than the average, but again, it's not the largest. And I did calculate that percentage. So the guidelines talk about, 20% larger when it comes to like height and massing. And 1580, which is the footprint of this home is 19% larger than the average of 1323. So it's not greater than 20%. I'm just kind of providing all of this to show that, the house is kind of within the guidelines, but it is on the larger side. So I don't have any conditions of approval recommended for changes. But if the board is concerned about the size, then we can talk about potential changes. So materials. All the materials are materials that the board has approved before. I find them to be appropriate. The windows, I don't know if we've had this come to you before, but Fibrex windows are proposed, which is a combination of like wood fiber and plastic. So it's meant to look like wood, but it's not fully wood. And then, although the board did allow Fibrex windows in the HRB policy updates, so they're for non-contributing structures, the HRB policies allow Fibrex windows. And so staff recommends allowing them now for this new construction. And then for decking on the porch, composite decking is proposed. Here's the kind of product sample. And the condition of approval that I recommend is just that the color, there's a range of colors that are available, and that the applicant choose a color that matches the house or the trim, any of the colors that are on the main home. So staff recommends approval with conditions. I do want to apologize that I forgot to actually copy some of the conditions within the staff report up into the list. So this last one isn't on your list, but it's within the narrative of the staff report, that the proposed retaining walls, shall not exceed 5 feet in height. And then this, I propose to, or I recommend to cross that section out because it's it doesn't make sense in this context. And then also this last condition here was also discussed in the staff report, but I didn't copy it up into the list. So just visually shielding the massing on the ground floor around kind of the front and the sides. So just a maximum of 10 shrubs to do that, to accomplish that screening. So I am available for questions.
Did you look at I noticed the color scheme was called out in the application specifically. Did you have any comments on that from staff?
No, I believe they proposed the dark or black window sashes, which would match or which would meet this condition number 2. And then I think, and we can pull up the materials list to look at the colors. I didn't specifically discuss that in the staff report.
Okay.
I don't think we get to pick the colors, do we?
No, not typically, but we usually, our typical condition of approval is that, there's a 3-color paint scheme with, body, trim, and then window sash, that the window sash be the darkest color.
We can discuss it during the deliberations, I guess, but it asked for white specifically, which is for a bungalow worth some discussion, I think.
Yeah.
That's all.
Does anybody have any other questions for staff? So I can turn it over to the applicant. So if the applicant would like to come up and state your name and your city, and you have 15 minutes, but you don't have to take that long.
I'm Tim Ahouse, currently reside in West Lynn, but this property obviously is in Oregon City.
Taryn A. House, Westland.
Got it. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant before they, do you guys want to add anything or any comments on what the staff's mentioned?
I guess, for the color, I mean, we're asking for white because we think it's a kind of a traditional color from the 1900s, but, the color scheme will comply with what you guys tell us that needs to be done.
Gotcha.
It's interesting, one of the bungalows cited at 602 First Avenue just repainted this year. It's cream color. It's not white, it's cream color with white trim.
I think overall this thing hits on all points, but staff brought up about the pitch of the roof, and I totally get why it's that way. I don't think it's totally out of whack. I mean, it's pretty tough for the typical eye to discern between a 6 and a 712. The front dormer is pretty steep, but that's all vaulted in there, right?
Yeah, and the reason why we did that 812 pitch for the front is basically because it balanced out better, we thought, when you look from the front onto it. It kind of goes into the golden ratio, fits better than a 612.
Bad in that picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That perspective.
you want to go back to the perspective?
Yeah, the picture. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Can I, while you're here, was there any criteria with the bungalow's windows as far as divided light, patterning? Because right now, I don't know that there's anything in the windows.
So windows, so I'm just reading from page 29 of the design guidelines. Windows, double hung, 1/1, large fixed window flanked by 2 smaller double hung windows. And then
Gotcha.
windows at dormers, smaller, often grouped. At shed dormers, fixed or casement style where smaller.
Right. Okay. Those windows in the front of the dormer, are they operable or fixed?
Good question. So it's not egress. So there was an egress window off the side. So I'm not sure what we're going to end up doing with that one.
Because if I'm wrong, that's part of the bedroom, right?
Yeah.
The bathroom's off to the side, so
Yep.
this is bedroom,
Yeah.
and your egress is on the gable end.
Yeah. Which means if we went out that window, we'd probably break our legs, but it's egress.
Yeah. So you don't know if you're going to have them, you probably have them operable, I would think.
I would probably want that. They have to be casements then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't allow slider. Well,
Yeah, it'd be a casement or single hungs, or you could do 2 casements on either side that flank the middle one. I gotcha. How about retaining walls? Do you have an issue with them being maximum 5 feet?
No, I mean, we'll have the grading plan that would, suffice for that, and I don't have any issues. And honestly, retaining walls over 5 feet, they become not only an eyesore, but if you have to have it over 5 feet, there's a lot of issues with.
Well, anything over 4, you really need to have engineered.
So.
How about the stairs on the front? If there's a 5-foot maximum height,
Yep.
you can get a lot of stairs out of that on a straight run. But
Yeah, you can, and this rendering when design was just kind of laid out before we had the grading plan in place, and I definitely am not married to this idea of having side steps that go up to the landing.
Yeah.
If we can grade it in a way, we can have like natural stone pavers that we can walk on to get to the front load stairs. That would be fine with us as well.
And it is possible if you were to grade the front, maybe with retaining off to the side, that would, and I know you can't even see the garage or the drive, but that would also shield it
Sure.
a little bit more,
Sure.
and that would make less stairs
Sure.
coming down. I mean, on the, as you're looking at it on the left side, the
Yeah.
garage side. But overall, yeah. Anybody have any other questions for the applicant? Or did you guys want to mention anything else? No?
Before, just to give you a chance to respond, because I'm going to bring it up, is, so on the rear side, it looks like a slider, the door to the back patio there. Generally, we specify French doors.
Unless they're a French slider,
Right.
which a French slider is much different than a regular slider.
And the reason why we did that was just, we're trying to figure out where we're going to put our table at. So thinking we put the table towards the back and the French doors would probably open up into it. So we can do French sliders, or we can do a single man door as well. So
What do you think? I mean, French sliders look like French doors. They're just
Right.
sliders.
I mean, that would probably be preferable over just a, kind of a slider, but it does look like it has a thicker frame there, which is at least better than
Yeah.
some of what, we've seen.
From a distance, I mean, from a back rock wall, I guess. But from the inside, it would look more like French doors.
Given the precedent that we've set recently, as long as it has a thicker frame to it, similar to, I think that it would be okay.
Yeah, I would say French for sure.
okay.
Just to add to that, the design guidelines do say sliding doors and large wide openings that are not divided into smaller traditional openings are not allowed. And we have a condition about the windows, but it didn't specifically say doors as well, so.
So those should be French doors, not sliders? Is that correct?
Well, I think it's kind of up to the board if you think the French slider meets the intent or, but this just says sliding doors are not allowed.
Gotcha. Any other questions from the board?
I have no questions.
No. Okay. Grant?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there anybody here from a recognized neighborhood association, government agency, or other incorporated public interest organization? You state your name and
Sure.
I guess what organization you're with?
Ron Beison, Canadian Neighborhood Association Steering Committee, Land Use Liaison to the city and the neighborhood.
Okay. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll only take about 2. As you know,
guy.
the Neighborhood Association had a meeting that Ken mentioned, and the public at the neighborhood was very favorable of the design. There was one one person that did not care for the design and gave their opinions. But when the vote came around, that it was unanimous that everybody voted except him for that one vote. So the neighborhood is in favor of the design and feels it would be a nice building to have in the Kenema.
Awesome. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Is there any, oh, go ahead.
Did the neighborhood association get a letter?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah. It's at the bottom. Any other individuals that wish to come before the board? No? Do you need a rebuttal for that? No. Okay, then if that's the case, I'm going to close the public hearing and let the board deliberate, if need be. Bring more of those, man.
Okay.
I like to
I think the easy thing to do with the sliding door is stipulate that it, well, I don't know. Yeah, French slider, I know we've allowed it, but I don't remember the discussion. I think we allowed it. But if we,
I don't know that it would be a precedent so much as a case by case. If this was like in a public right of way or something, I think it would be, well, then, I'm just saying, it could be scrutinized, but when this is backing up to cliff, I don't, but.
yeah.
I get the ease of a slider, for sure.
How's the, let's see, where's that? Yeah, I mean, I can see from the floor plan why it would be inconvenient to have French doors there.
Oh.
Hinge on the
Yep.
area. I personally can tolerate the French slider without a problem because from 50 feet away, you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
No, it actually makes a big difference when they're like that, as a French as opposed to other. It's a lot more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my vote then, that we specify either single door French doors or French slider at their
Okay.
discretion.
Yeah.
Should we go through the list of conditions?
Go along with
I'm sorry?
that.
Should we just go right to the list of conditions then? I think that was number 5 or 6, maybe it was.
What,
Let's go back to the,
was,
not my way.
Kelly? Can you list the conditions again, please?
Sure.
Or pop them up?
Yep.
There we are.
So number 6, the
That
slider
went
windows
away.
not permitted.
Gotcha. But we could put there with 6 as a additional condition could be what Grant said. What he said.
Applicant shall use a single door, French door, or French slider on the rear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the rear of the home. So, yeah, I would, I guess just add that as a separate condition.
Yeah.
And we have no problem with the grading or with the height of the walls.
So that's the,
Tree mitigation. I'm ready to make a motion for approval.
I've got a
Subject-
couple.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
got some things to enter into the record anyway, and state one. So,
No, go ahead. Go
okay.
ahead.
All right. So just, I know that Kelly wants some findings and things for the garage and all that. So, starting just at the top of the list, as far as massing goes and the design, it is on the larger side when compared to the contributing homes, but for the new construction homes, it's really right in, I think, probably that desired ballpark. 421 Fifth and 349 Fifth are both new construction bungalow designs that 1.5 story bungalows, and they're right in that 2,600 square foot range. Plus they have an ADU over the garage, so they're in that 2,900 total, something like that. So I think it's right in there. You know, we've seen a couple designs come through that go over 3,000 square feet. And I think that gets excessive, but I think this is probably appropriate for a 10,000 square foot lot, as far as footprint. On the pitch, the roof slope, the pitch of on the dormer, I read the intent of that to discourage, you know, colonial style, really narrow, steep dormers, and I don't get that impression from this. So I think okay with that, you know, kind of slightly steeper slope there. Agree with comments on the windows. They should perhaps be divided light. I'm not sure exactly what, but for a bungalow, I would.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
The two bungalows, which are authentic bungalows at 510 First and 602 First, both have 1/1.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm okay with the.
In addition to some casement windows.
Typically on a dormer and a bungalow, those windows are going to be more rectangular than they are vertical.
Right. Not so much on the casement one. I'm okay. If there's good, I was not thinking of those two. So
Yeah,
if there's
they
good
are.
precedent for it,
Yeah.
then I'm okay leaving it as is. We have the comment on the doors, and then the last. Let's see, the last thing on the list. Oh, the color. I don't think we need to specify for a bungalow. So for vernacular, white 100% would be appropriate. For a bungalow,
You have a little richer colors though. You can.
maybe not. So I don't know. Maybe I actually spent some time looking for a good precedent for period bungalows that were white and that, and I didn't really find a lot. So maybe do some research on your own on what would.
An interesting thing came up when they were repainting the neighbor's house last summer. As they scraped through 7 layers of paint and got down to the original, it's very close to the color they ended up painting it, cream color.
They got through all the lead.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they made enough lead to build several fishing weights.
Yeah, I guess the comment I would leave, and not a condition, but just a comment, is that the bright white farmhouse look is very in these days, and I don't think that would necessarily be the most appropriate for, the very bright white type of thing. And then the garage. So findings for the garage. So it is on a steep slope that would require significant excavation to site a garage separate from the main structure. The proposed garage is not on the front face of the house that's facing the right-of-way. It's not on the main level of the house. There's also been design elements added to separate the appearance of the garage from the main structure, with the little bit of the little roof thing there. And actually, beyond the vernacular house that was approved before, a tuck-under garage is not, although there's no precedent in Kenema, you can find that in period craftsman bungalow type designs if you look around in the Portland area. And so I think it's appropriate for this design, and it makes the house suit the area, has less impact on the contributing homes than it would if you added the garage. That would block some of the visibility of some of the contributing homes, like Paul Egger's house up on the hill from 4th Ave, that type of thing. So those are my comments.
The garage on the side is not uncommon. And it fits. So, thanks.
I
Anybody
would
else?
add to the garage discussion the fact that you cannot go further east on 4th Avenue. It ends there. It turns down Ganong. So nobody
I can see
driving
it.
past this house is ever going to see that end of it. Not unless they actually drive up the driveway.
Yeah. Anybody else? Did you want to go ahead with?
I will go ahead with the motion then to approve the design as submitted, subject to the conditions stated by staff with the addition of the condition regarding the slider door on the dining room.
Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Can we vote?
Okay. Board Member Blythe?
Aye.
Board Member Basinger?
Aye.
Board Member Stobie?
Aye.
And Chair McLaughlin?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah. Okay. So our last item is approval of minutes. 19-589 minutes. We can collectively approve all three of these minutes. If anybody has any issues, we can, with the minutes.
I actually read through them.
It's exciting reading.
It is.
Does someone want to make a motion to approve them?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
A second?
I'll second that.
Okay, can we vote?
Okay. Board Member Blythe?
Aye.
Board Member Basinger?
Aye.
Board Member Stobie?
Aye.
And Chair McLaughlin?
Aye. Is there anything on number 5, communications?
I do have a couple of things to share with you. All right, so first, you all signed up for email addresses with this, like, city-issued email addresses. We haven't been using those because not all 5 of you actually have one yet. So
We tried.
we did. So I just want to check and make sure that that we're all still okay as we are now, and that if we do
Sure.
transition to those email addresses, then I will let you know, start checking that from now on. Otherwise, I don't think you probably haven't received anything, 'cause I haven't sent you anything with the city email address.
No.
I haven't looked.
I haven't logged in.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't remember my password
No
if I
news
were
is
you,
good
but,
news.
okay, so it's that time of year to give our, annual update to the city commission, at their November 6th meeting. So last year, Ken kindly, gave that update. I provided just a kind of a bullet list of the HRB accomplishments for the past year. And I think Ken was probably up there for 2 to 5 minutes to share those with the commission.
Yeah, it wasn't a painful thing.
So I'd just be looking for someone on the board who's willing to do that, and then I would just
Somebody with experience.
compile that bulleted list for you.
That sounds,
That's November 6th, and the meeting's at 7 p.m.
oh wait, that's a Wednesday?
Yes.
It's not going to be me. We just put it on paper and submit it to them? I'm just being awful.
Can ask.
It's a possibility I could.
I'm not unwilling to do that. I mean, it's fine.
You have sage wisdom about you.
Sage wisdom, well, experience.
Yeah, experience, and
Yeah,
you're almost all-knowing. So,
that's what I tell my wife all the time.
yeah, that's what we all tell our wives. Okay,
So Ken's willing to do it again.
yeah,
Thank
buy
you
him
very
a
much.
shake at Mike's or something.
Okay, thanks, Ken. So it's also the time of year for interviews. John and Grant, your terms are expiring, and you've both reapplied for another 3-year term. We
My arm's still
also
completely twisted I don't know about yours, Grant.
We also received 2 additional applications, and these are actually, they would qualify for either the McLaughlin position, which is not open at the moment, which I believe is Claire's position, or the at-large position, which I believe is Ken.
I thought that was me.
You're filling the architect's role, or as
I
at the
gotcha.
moment. So just playing this out, if one of those, if those folks were to become at-large members, then they couldn't replace John as the architect, but they could potentially, like Ken could move to the Kenema rep, and then that new person would be the at-large. Like that's one way this could play out. So they're really competing with Grant, is what I'm saying.
But he's already re-upped, so that's,
Right, so he's reapplied for his position. So since we have other applicants, the process really is, I send you the applications. If you want to hold interviews, we would do that at before the November meeting, like the hour beforehand. You can look at the applications and decide that you don't want to interview them, and you can just, that you don't want to interview anyone, or that you only want to interview certain people. But you don't have to conduct interviews in order to appoint folks to the board, or recommend appointment, because the mayor is the one who officially
but I guess my naive question is, if we're full, then why?
So you don't have to interview anyone, and the board can just at the next meeting vote to reappoint whoever.
Gotcha.
So it's up to you, but I will send you the applications over email, and if anyone's interested in holding interviews, just email me back with that information. And so I'll be asking you that question. I did glance through the 2 applications, and the folks seem knowledgeable. One has a degree in historic preservation. So I think we'd like to extend invitations for them to apply at a later date, at the very least, I think. So I'll send those out. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is that the Certified Local Government Workshop that's held annually for all the communities in Oregon that have a local preservation program is November 14th in Albany. Yeah. So it's a 9 to 3:30-ish day-long workshop. It's free, and I sent out the agenda for it earlier or last week. If you're interested in attending, let me know, and I will RSVP for you. You would just have to find your own way down to Albany for the day.
Could you go for part of it, or do you have to go for all of it?
You don't have to. You can show up whenever and leave whenever.
Got it.
Yeah. So I plan on probably showing up a little bit late, so I'll miss the early morning part of it, and then and I'll probably be driving from Portland and not from Oregon City, so otherwise I would offer to carpool, but I can't do that this time. But let me know if you're interested in attending. It's free. It would just be your transportation down there.
But it could go in the afternoon for the afternoon part of it or something like that, if you want.
Okay.
I mean,
Would you like me to RSVP for you for that?
Not yet.
Okay.
I have to think about that,
Okay.
but I was thinking that's a possibility.
Okay. The afternoon seems to have more relevant topics.
Yeah, it seems
anyway.
like more of a party.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you. Then we can adjourn.